On Sunday, Americans found themselves paying on average $4 per gallon. Now that was the highest since the Great Recession. 3 days later, the sticker shock at the pump has only gotten worse. Today we're paying $4.25 a gallon, the highest ever. And that's up from $2.53 was the national average when Biden took office. Now if you're in California, drivers are waking up to a state average of $5.57 per gallon. President Biden keeps breaking records. But unfortunately, those records are breaking America's budget. With prices this high, families are expected to pay $2,000 extra just for the cost of fuel alone. And on top of that, the extra cost because of inflation at the highest it's been in the last 40 years. Yes, I know oil is an international market, but the main reason Americans are paying so much is bad domestic policies. These aren't Putin prices, they're President Biden's prices. Even a Democrat pollster recently admitted that blaming Russia for gas prices is a good news because the rest was just ambiguous. And yes, Mr. President, your policies are holding back domestic energy production. Your allies on Capitol Hill have actually called on American companies to lower oil production. Remember, they subpoenaed all the companies to come in, and this was the question that they got.
Are you embarrassed as an American company that your production is going up while the European counterparts are going down?
Congressman, as we have already heard, demand for energy is going up in the world.
Okay, so you're not embarrassed, and do you commit to do anything? I'm just asking an open question. This is not kind of gotcha question. Do you commit to do anything to matching your European counterparts to try to bring the actual demand of oil production down?
Congressman, with all due respect, I'm very proud of our company and what we do. I'm proud of the company.
So, no, you won't produce it.
I don't think Europe wants to be Europe today. I think they realize they made a mistake. But the leaders on the Democratic Party want to put us in the same weakness and strengthen Putin's hand. Now, as you can see on this graph, the upward trajectory in gas prices started the very day President Biden took office, when we got one-party rule in Washington, D.C. By contrast, Republicans have been warning for over a year that Biden's war on American energy would lead to higher costs at the pump. In fact, I compiled a few clips of just a few of those moments, so let's roll that tape.
Stop at the next gas station and take a picture of what gasoline costs. And come back and ask that same question later. When you're paying more,
check the price of gasoline today and tell me where it is in a year. You can thank Joe Biden for that.
Go and look at what the price of oil is today and what you pay for in gasoline. I promise you, a year from now, the action of what this president has done has only increased it. Affordability is going to go through the roof.
Look what has happened in a short amount of time. They've controlled all. Your gasoline price is up. Biden's created a crisis on the border, and your gas is going up. Remember, gas price today, national gas price, has not been this high since President Biden was vice president.
the policies of Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden are destroying this nation. We got gasoline lines, we got stations that have no gas, we got gasoline in Virginia, $7 a gallon.
6 months of Biden administration, we have the highest gas prices in 7 years. After his policies caused gas prices to skyrocket, he said he would lower the gas price. He hasn't done it, he's even made it worse. And no, not the measly 2 cents the DCCC thinks is lowering it, is a reduction. He depleted 50 million barrels of oil from our emergency supply and has done nothing to reverse this anti-American energy agenda that he has contributed to despite our costs.
We've been warning them all along, just like we warned them at the beginning when their first bill would cause inflation. This is exactly what has happened, and Americans are left paying the price. Not only did House Republicans warn them this would happen, but we repeatedly offered obvious solutions to the problem. Build the pipeline, increase production and distribution, and fast-track energy exports to our allies. By contrast, Democrats' plan to lower prices today is to blame Russia, buy expensive electric vehicles, and beg OPEC for a bailout. If If you look here, you've watched time and again where the Democratic leadership goes after American companies that produce energy to produce less, but ask those countries with dictators and other leaders to produce more. You know, the president said the buck stops with me. Then he says he can't do much about it now. Russia's responsible. His Secretary of Transportation tells Americans to go buy a $56,000 electric car. His State Department wants to buy oil from Iran and Venezuela, trading one dictator for another. And on Capitol Hill, the Democrats' conference chair, Hakeem Jeffries, said rising gas prices have not come up in their caucus meeting. Can you imagine that? They represent millions of Americans, and not one of them have raised the issue that every single household is talking about today. That's costing them more than $2,000. I think they're focused on the wrong issues. In other words, Democrats will do nothing but what is actually needed. We need more production in America. The solution to getting our country back on track, to returning to energy independence, couldn't be more straightforward. We offered the American Energy Independence from Russia bill on the floor. We're going to offer it again. 220 Democrats voted no. I guess they'll have a lot of time to think about it before it's offered today, as they're trying to figure out whether they could pass a rule. With that, let's open it up for questions. Manu, you're sitting in the front. Why don't we go for what happened?
I ruptured my bicep. It's
Working out?
last week. It's skiing incident.
He
gone
tried to
awry,
fight you,
so-
and I said, it's not, you know.
You wore a helmet, though, right?
No, yes, I was not wearing it, but it involved my son, but he's okay.
He's
So,
okay.
but
Oh.
Me, on the other hand, I'll be fine.
Did you have surgery?
Surgery last week.
Kevin Brady had that happen to him.
Is there?
Yeah.
I'll talk to him.
All right.
So with respect to what's happening in Ukraine, the former president has praised Vladimir Putin's moves as very savvy and as genius. Do you agree with him?
I do not think anything savvy or genius about Putin. I think Putin is evil. I think he's a dictator. I think he's murdering people right now. And I think what has happened, I went to Ukraine taking Republicans and Democrats a number of years ago. When I came back from that trip, I requested a meeting with then the Vice President of America, Joe Biden. I went to the Situation Room. And I advocated that we should sell them javelins based upon Russia had come into Ukraine before. They have no defense to be able to fight that. The uniqueness of Ukraine is they don't ask for American men or women to come fight for them. All they ask is to be able to supply the weapons that they can defend themselves, defend their own freedom. That administration said no. President Trump said yes. It gave him some ability. But I think the slowness of what has happened this year, and I've raised this to President Biden earlier in the year when he first communicated with Putin. I did not think sanctions would affect Putin. He's lived under sanctions for decades. I believe that you should have taken action to allow Ukraine to buy weapons early. That could deter Putin from entering and invading. President Biden had intel that said he would invade. But at the whole time he said President Biden would do nothing till after the invasion. He gave that same information to China that shared it with Russia. There's so many mistakes of why this is happening. From the way that President Biden exited Afghanistan, losing 13 members of our military, showing Putin a weakness. And this is a question that I continue to ponder. He provided them Nord Stream 2 pipeline. After they invaded Ukraine, they pulled the sanctions on it, made it that you could not have it, to weaken the economy of Russia. If that weakens the economy of Russia, closing the XL pipeline, wouldn't that weaken the economy of America too then? Just wondering. Yes, ma'am.
Two questions, if I can. Do you believe that the decision to kind of say no to a no-fly zone is the appropriate one?
Look, if America goes out and does a no-fly zone, we're entering the ability to enter into a war. I think that would have to raise the question. I think that would have to be debated in Congress. So I think that would be a real challenge for us.
And Mike Pence said that there's no room in the Republican Party for Putin apologists. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. What I would do was on your first question though, I would supply Ukraine with the MiGs. When you're watching day after day, innocent people being shot down when they were told that there was a ceasefire to take a route, Russia comes in and murders these individuals, Ukraine wants to defend themselves. Their pilots know how to fly the MiGs. If you're going to supply them with javelins, supply them with the MiGs as well. Let them defend themselves. That's the difference.
Are you supporting the Russia bill and the omnibus?
Yes.
Both of them?
But I wish we did something more. You cannot just shut off Russian gas and not produce in America. I know the president looks to try to go to Iran or Venezuela. That's one dictator for another, just trading it. And I'll give you an example in my own home state. You wouldn't think California, but California is blessed to have a lot of ability when it comes to natural resources. Since Gavin Newsom has taken over, he has reduced the production of energy in California by more than 20% when it comes to crude. That's about 89,000 barrels. But you still need the oil. So what's he replaced it with? 50,000 barrels a day from Russia. On his executive orders, he shut down permitting. He shut down it being in hydrocarbons going into the wells themselves. We could produce all we need in California that he's knocked away from Russia and be able to produce even more. That's what we're looking at. When America produces their own energy, America is stronger and the world is safer. Yes, sir.
Following up on the MiGs situation, what did you make of the Pentagon saying that the move to get those planes into Ukraine via Germany was untenable?
I think they're wrong. I think the longer they take, more people will die. I don't understand if you can supply them with a javelin and Poland wants to give them MiGs and they want to defend themselves, why won't you allow somebody to defend themselves? Especially when they believe in freedom. Especially this was unprovoked. Putin is evil, and what he's doing to these people is devastating. It's not just America glued to the set. The world is watching this. They're asking to defend themselves. They've never once asked for American men and women in uniform to come and fight. All they want is not to fight with sticks. Allow them that opportunity. And the longer you wait, it just goes back to the very point. If you had the intel that they were going to invade, would you really think the best question is, I'll put sanctions on you after you invade? And then when you put the sanctions on, you listen to President Biden said, this won't work for months, though. What if you had provided them weapons they could buy, deter Russia from ever invading? How many lives would have been saved? We would be in a different situation today. And we should take that exact same lesson and not slow down any weapon sales to Taiwan either. Yes, sir.
Returning to gas prices, if I could, I know there's been some discussion from governors about suspending the gas tax. Your thoughts at the conference?
I think that would be smart. Let's $2,000 more people are going to have to pay simply because their policies are wrong. But that's not a long-term solution because that gas tax goes to the transportation bill. So what you really need to do is raise the production in America. So that would lower the price, it would lower inflation, more Americans would be working, America would be stronger. We could become not just energy independent, but energy dominant. That we could provide the natural gas for Europe and others so they won't look to Putin, they won't look to Iran. And you know what that means for everyone like me that cares about our environment? Our natural gas is 41% cleaner than Russian natural gas. So let's do something smart. Let's make America stronger, the world safer, and actually a little cleaner. Yes, ma'am.
About the funding bill, so there's a conservative group that's kind of urging Republicans to put a pause button on this, to not settle for small victories like an increase in defense spending. The conservative group is the sister of the Heritage Foundation. Do you think there's strong support from all Republicans in your caucus for this funding bill? Or there are some who are hesitant?
On the funding bill is gonna be split into two. When you're looking at security and you're looking at where the world is today and what President Biden requested from the military, it wasn't enough. It wasn't putting us in a place that we could be stronger and protect ourselves. And I think what we're finding in there, that Democrats have a problem even passing a rule. I think Republicans look to, just like in the NDAA, the number of successes we had to modernize our military, to be able to protect from that stance. There's a lot of people that look at that, but that's a positive, not on the overall bill itself, no.
So just to be clear, you're gonna support the Ukraine piece and not the omnibus bill? That's where you are?
Well, there's a security, the omnibus bill will be voted in two.
Right.
And the first vote, if it still stays the way it is, I call it the security, so it's the DOD, the others, I would support that, yes. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, thank you. Can you just reiterate, are you in support of the Russia oil ban bill, and do you believe your caucus, your caucus
I'm in
will
support of it, but it's not the bill I would have written, it doesn't go far enough, and it's, you can't just ban Russian oil without producing in America. That's why we continue to bring up the American independent energy bill from Putin.
And do you believe the conference will support it?
I believe there'll be a number of people in the conference that will support it. Look, our conference overwhelmingly does not want Russian oil. We want American oil.
And can you
And
also,
unfortunately, the Democrats are in the majority, so they stop short.
can you also just say why are there motions to adjourn right now? What is the purpose of that on the floor?
What is the purpose of that? That the Democrats dropped a bill that's thousands of pages in the middle of the night last night that's $1.5 trillion. Gives people a little more time to read it. But it's not holding anything up. The things that are holding things up are the Democrats can't pass their own rule. I mean, they have the record for holding the vote open the longest. They have first place and second place. I don't know what they're trying for today. I know they got to retreat. No questions, Nick? Yes, sir.
Any update on your conversations with Congressman Gosar and Green?
Yes, I've talked to Green. I still waiting to talk to those.
And,
I've talked to him.
but you said, I think you told Jake and Manu that there's no place for,
There isn't no place for that. There's no place for what has gone on with that organization by far, and there never will be in this party, and it'll never be tolerated.
and will she go again?
Yes.
Do you-
No, she will not go again.
She get any repercussions for her?
Look, my conversations with my members are exactly that, and I appreciate you asking.
Well, on this topic, I mean, 3 years ago, when Steve King made comments that were sympathetic
Mhm.
to white supremacists, you supported kicking him off his committees.
I removed him from committee.
Yeah, and obviously, Green and Gosar are already off their committees, but you
Mhm.
said in November that you'd return them to their committees and use that they might even get better committee assignments. Do you stand by that still?
They have the ability to be able to get committees based upon that time when it comes.
A different question. In oral arguments at the Supreme Court back in December, in the Dobbs versus Jackson women's health case, a Biden Solicitor General Elizabeth Prelogar referred to an unborn baby as a baby. Was she right?
Say that again, I'm not an attorney, go through this.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna debate a Supreme Court case that I wasn't at and what this said.
Yes, so back in December, Elizabeth Prelogar, Biden Solicitor General, she made a statement in referring to Justice Clarence Thomas's question, asking what the right was that she was specifically seeking in that case. And she referred to an unborn baby as a baby. Do you think she was right?
Yeah, I'm not referring to the case, I'm pro-life, so I don't know exactly what you're referring to, but I would always take the life of the child. That answers your question without knowing what you're asking for. Other than that, stay safe, stay off the slopes, and hopefully we won't see you later, but it could be a long day.
Could be a long day.
We might have to make rules.
Issue with the Democrats.